Okay, so this here is the jointer. And, first off, even before you joint any material, so if you're doing softwood or if you're doing hardwood, this is hardwood right now, this here is walnut. So when you look at the board, most of the material that we get in the shop is rough, which is it's a cost-saving aspect to our program, which we can save half the cost instead of going over to Home Depot. But if you look at the board, you always look straight down the board, and you will see a cup in the board. 100% of the time, you're going to see it. So you want to lay it on the table, and you want to see this doesn't rock. It hardly rocks at all. And if we tip it over on this side, see how that rocks. So we don't want that side on the table right now because it's going to be too hard to cut, and it's too hard on the blade. So we flip it over on this side, which it hardly rocks. Now let's go over the parts of the joint. So we have an in-feed table, we have an out-feed table, we have a guard which guards the blade, and then we also have a wheel right here which adjusts the fence accordingly. So if the blade is nicked on this side, you loosen this right here, and you can adjust it accordingly. So you can use the whole blade. And it's good to move it back and forth so the blades don't wear out on one side. Now, you can also, if we wanted to tip this on an angle, we loosen this off, and you can tip this fence from 45 degrees back to 90 degrees, any angle that you want. All right? But right now, we want to smooth this face, because before we go into planer, we always need to have one side smooth first, which makes it easier for the planer to pull it through on the rollers and be more accurate. Okay? The whole point of custom woodworking and construction is trying to get material perfectly flat and perfectly square. And that's what these two machines accommodate. So, we have a push block, and we have a push stick. The push block, we stick on the back, and we stick it tight against the fence. Now also, this machine only cuts maximum, you should only cut hardwood a 32nd of an inch, which, if you look on the dial, on the jointer right here, if you turn this wheel, which has a lock right here, if you were to loosen this wheel, you turn it, it will bring it from 0 to a half an inch. Now I don't know why it goes to a half inch, because you should never take that big of a cut. It should only be from hardwood 1/32, softwood 1/16 if you want the blades to last. So we lock it, and if you move the in-feed table height, the blades, you got to adjust the out-feed table, which also unlocks. You get a straight edge, make it level with the blade, so it's nice and even. So when it goes, all right. So we're gonna make the cut here. Start it up. Always make sure that the dust collector is open, so it allows the sawdust to go up inside into the dust collector, so you're not cleaning it all off the machine. Once again, Neale said, always wear safety boots, always wear safety glasses.
This is a loud one, so you're also eligible to wear hearing protection. It's not necessary, but it's a good idea.
And if you were working on this machine all day, N95, wear a dust mask. But we're only making one cut, so we don't need you. So push stick against the fence, push block, and we take a cut. As you can tell, it hasn't cleaned up the whole face, so we take another one. So you can tell it's just a little bit more here, one more cut. Now the board is perfectly flat. Now before we go to the planer and bring it down to the thickness, you can also make one side 90 degrees to the board. So the fence is 90 degrees to the outfeed table. You would push the board against the fence, push block, and keep taking cuts. until it's 90 degrees. So the board is perfectly square. After you're done, clean the machine. Just common courtesy for the next person. And that's the jointer safety.
So we'll take that same piece of wood and bring it over here to the planer.
Okay. Now the planer, same thing. You have to wear safety glasses, safety boots. You want to make sure that the dust collector is open, because if it's not, all the sawdust is going to get jammed up inside the dust collector tube here. And we're going to have to take this off and clean it all up. Now we've been lucky, we've had people come in over the summer and they've taken care of all this machine, and these machines are cutting sweet. So what we're not supposed to do right now, the board is supposed to be 14 inches in length, because what that does is you want to make sure it's longer than the distance between the middle of those two rollers, right? And the reason being is so the board is so small it doesn't bind, so when it cuts, when you wind it up and it grabs a hold, the first roller grabs a hold of it, it doesn't want to kick the board up. The longer it is, the more weight it is, and it's more even. But for this board, we can use it. So step number one, you go on the scale, you take your board and you wind it down to 0. As we can see right there, we wind it up. So we don't want it that, we want to take only one complete turn, one revolution, which takes off 60 thou of an inch, or 1/16 of an inch. So you take off one turn, right? Now there's also a feed lever on the side, which it tells you how many feet per minute. So if it's pushed all the way in, it's 20 feet per minute. If it's pushed all the way out, it's 16 feet per minute, right? So which is faster speed. So if you're planing pine, which you can go 16 feet per minute. If you're doing hardwood, you go 20 feet per minute.
Hardwood is going to be 16.
Oh yeah.
And pine, you're going to softwood.
That's right. 16 feet per minute for hardwood, 20 for softwood. Right. The more the speed, the softer the wood, you can plane it a little quicker.
Now, just so you understand the way this machine works, the table here is what moves up and down, and the blades themselves are housed in this top unit right here.
So the rough part of the board always faces up, whatever you want to plane off. So right now we've already set it. Push the emergency stop. So this here is the in-feed table, the out-feed table. Let's start it up. Side of the board. Now it all depends on what thickness that you need. It's called a thickness planer for a reason. So if we wanted it to be exactly 1 inch, we bring it to the number. We feed it in. We would take the board and we would take the digital over here. And we would actually measure the board. So we turn it on, loosen the nut off. So right now, we can make this board exactly the thickness that we want it. So right now, it is 1 inch and 19 thousandths of an inch. So like I said, one turn is 60. So if we wanted to take off 19, it's just like a clock. So you go 19 minutes. 19 minutes on the clock. Start it up. Remeasure. And right now it's 1 inch and it's even less than a hair. So you, like I said, you can make it as exact as you possibly can. Now, if a lot of the stuff that we do in the shop, if we're not building something that's really important, well then you can just rough clean it. But if you're getting into building like toolboxes and stuff that needs to be really accurate, this is the tool that you need for this machine. All right. So let's go over it again. Safety glasses, safety boots. You want to make sure the board is longer than then the distance between both rollers. You have an in-feed and out-feed table. Always make sure the dust collector is open because it jams up the dust collector if you don't. You have a feed lever for using hardwood and softwood, right? And there's a scale on the front, which both units of measurement. You can either use metric on the right-hand side or imperial on the left-hand side.
And it sounds silly, but obviously hands don't go inside this machine. You never want to reach in for a piece of wood. It will take your hands. So that's why we have the caution tape on the back. You shouldn't be reaching into it. If your board's long enough, you should be feeding it from outside and not going underneath the machine.
And to shut it off, emergency stop. Done.